Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. We appreciate it.
Also, check out the podcast below in the description. Haberman, that's him. Middlecoff, that's me. Subscribe to the pod.
All right. Speaking of pods, of course, Middlecoff does the 3 and Out podcast up there. You see it over his head with Colin Cowherd, our friend and yours, and John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, who's been on that podcast down there before, was on with Cowherd talking about Brandon Aiyuk. Now, John, the Brandon Aiyuk video we did blew up. If you have not seen that video, go watch our Brandon Aiyuk film breakdown video. This is kind of a follow-up to that video because now we've got some insights from John Lynch from this conversation. 3 big things he said that we'll address his main points. One, he said that they think he's faster than his 4.5 40 time because Herm Edwards told him not to believe that. He said they're more of a high 4.3 guy and that the core muscle injury that he suffered slowed him down. That's been repaired. He said don't be fooled by the lack of production. N'Keal Harry was there his junior year, and that took some touches away from him. And he even said they would have considered drafting him at 13 if they were stuck there. All right, start with whichever one of those you want.
Well, 4.3 to me seems a little bold. To me, 4.3, he did. I know John said he never gets caught. Well, in the video, he does get caught a couple times. Now, I do agree he plays faster than a 4.50. I would say if he's fully healthy, I'd call him like a 4.44 guy, maybe a 4.45. Like, he's fast. You don't view him as slow, but I don't view him as some 4.37 wide receiver, which, again, we start nitpicking. His play speed is excellent. And it was better than N'Keal Harry last year, who was also a 4.5 guy that went in the first round. I got no issues with the play speed. So I understand what he's saying, but I also get the hype. College coach saying a 4.3 guy. I understand what they're saying.
Wouldn't you say it like this, like most simply? Because I think some people look at the 40 times and like, what are we talking about here? I would say this. Yes or no? His speed is a positive attribute for him.
Yes.
Okay, so his speed is part of, like we did a Michael Pittman video. Speed is not part of his game.
But when I think of a 4, let's say a 3 guy, I think of someone who's a legitimate deep threat. Anything 4.40 and under. I'm starting to think Ted Ginn Jr., Deshaun Jackson, Tyreek Hill, guys that you're just throw and go routes and they're flying by. Now, anyone can run a go route or a post. He will do that. And I think he is much faster than the guy he played next to last year, or his play speed is faster. And that guy was drafted in the first round. And I know he's kind of gets shit on after his rookie season. I know I think you would agree, we like the player. I would not sell my stock in N'Keal Harry just yet, right? He'll be okay.
Yeah, well, it was some insight, right? Because one thing Lynch says in that video is one of the reasons they were tracking Aiyuk is because they were watching N'Keal Harry. They liked N'Keal Harry. Stack this on the brick of figuring out Kyle Shanahan's type of receiver, right? Whoever the big next time they need a wideout, the big strong guy is, with a little bit of kick, and this guy has more kick, you got to think the Niners are going to be scouting him.
Well, I think back to, like you bring up N'Keal Harry last year, what would have been fascinating, and I don't blame Colin because he's not Niner focused, but if you and I were talking with John, the question I would ask, well, if N'Keal would have fallen to you, did you have him above Debo? Because I would say right now you feel more confident about Debo moving forward than N'Keal.
N'Keal did do a lot of different stuff, right?
Yeah, I think coming out of college, I think it would be more than fair to rank N'Keal Harry above Debo Samuel. Hell, the Patriots did it. Now you can, crush their history of drafting wide receivers high all you want.
Yeah.
The other thing with the production, 2 things. 2 years ago, Manny Wilkins, who was the quarterback for Arizona State, lived with N'Keal Harry, right? They were roommates, best friends. They were really close. And this guy was a junior college transfer in his first year playing. So his production as a first-year guy for Arizona State had 33 catches. And he was not, you probably wouldn't even think about going pro after that 1 year, right? And he comes back this year. I heard Herm Edwards in one of the 7 million interviews he's done since the draft say that, listen, when I look at his numbers now, looking back, I kind of shake my head and go, I don't know if we got the ball to him enough. And he's like, but we were a run-first team, who while he went in the 7th round was a really, really productive player. But here was the key. He's like, we had a true freshman quarterback. If we would have had a more established guy, it probably would have been easier. This guy's numbers could have done his thing, and maybe maybe Aiyuk has 80 catches, maybe not a Pittman 101, but maybe he has 85 and
Yeah.
like 12
Well,
touchdowns.
two things,
Because he
right?
was
Like,
he was their best player.
he was, but to your point, Benjamin didn't just carry the ball a lot. He's also a pass catcher out of the backfield. And then they had this guy named Frank Darby Jr., Frank Darby, who we'll talk about next year probably, who I think led the nation in yards per catch. Like, he was a big play guy. To your point on N'Keal Harry, the other thing that probably hurt Aiyuk his first year, his junior year, but his first year out of JC at ASU, was that the offensive coordinator, Rob Likens, who was the OC for 2 years, was the wide receiver coach the year before, and I think he was the pass game coordinator the year before. So, like, he came into the year with N'Keal, who had started as a freshman, impact guy as a sophomore. He comes into N'Keal's junior year having worked with him the previous year, right? So he knew, like, hey, Herm says, like, hey, Rob, what's your plan for the offense? And the answer is, get N'Keal the ball? And Herm's like, yeah, that's the plan. So, I mean, they utilized N'Keal as they should, as I think anybody probably would have coming in that year.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
And they had Eno had 300 carries that year.
As 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was Herm's first year, so I understand exactly what they were saying, how much they liked him. Now, the one thing that he said that they might have drafted him at 13th overall.
Right. He said if they had been stuck, they would have considered it. Now, I guess if they're stuck and Kinlaw's gone, maybe.
Well, wouldn't you push back? CD was on the board.
Right.
And I think if they would have, the biggest WTF moment of the last several years would have been them taking Brandon Aiyuk over CD Lamb. And they've even, Kyle and John, I don't know if John has, but Kyle definitely has. They love CD Lamb.
Yeah.
So I think it's very safe to say, I would say in concrete, that CD Lamb was ranked above Brandon Aiyuk on their board. And that would have been the pick if they did get stuck at wide receiver. I just think they would have found a way to go an offensive lineman. They would have gone with the big heavy over a wide receiver there, given that they had another pick in the first round.
My guess, John, is maybe that comment comes from you're right. It's just you drafted a guy, you're complimenting the guy, right? CD, by the way, also ran a 4.5. Also feels faster than 4.5.
You don't usually draft a guy in the first 32 picks and be like, he's like the sixth guy on our board, but we got in a pinch.
I'm not gonna lie, we got stuck.
Yeah, and we
ran out of time. I'm going to be honest.
It wasn't ideal.
We ran out of time. Okay,
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
I thought we had 20 minutes. I'm new to this.
I got a 3-year guaranteed deal, so if shit hits the fan, whatever.
Our owner, this kid was on his kid's team growing up.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice.
Wait, that happened. Wrong team though. My guess is that they had run a bunch of scenarios, right? That was like, all right, let's say 3 receivers are gone and Kinlaw's gone, and maybe there was some scenario. It was interesting to hear him say, I looked at when as time went on, because whether or not you think he's a 4.33 guy or high 4.3 guy, like he said, Herm told him, one thing that you probably can't deny is if Brandon Aiyuk rolls out and runs a 4.42 at the combine, they might have had to move up higher to get him. Like John Lynch says, I think his 4.5 40 helped us get him where we got him in the mid-20s.
Well, 2 teams to me, if let's say he runs that, I completely agree there. He runs a 4.42 at the combine. What was one of Howie Roseman's 3 things that he wrote down at the end of the season? They needed to add speed.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to look at 4.50 and go, well, he's just not quite fast enough to what we're looking for. Because to me, if he runs 4.41, it's much easier on paper and the film to go, this is our speed guy. So does he make it past the Eagles at 22? Does he make it past? What if he runs that fast? Do the Minnesota Vikings go, well, he's not quite Diggs, but he kind of complements Thielen. We get him with Cousins. Maybe they end up liking him more than Justin Jefferson, right? That's where
Jalen Reagor ran a 4.47.
That's where I completely agree with John. If he had run what I think they think he'd run if fully healthy in the, let's just say 4.44, I think either Reagor or Jefferson might turn into Aiyuk, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. Rager's known as a speed demon, and he runs a 4.47, right? It's not like you look at it's like, well, Reagor ran a 4.38.
Yeah.
Because if he had run a 4.38, Jalen Reagor still goes there, right? Who else is? It's not like he goes any higher. Aiyuk would be, to me, Aiyuk and Jefferson are 2 guys that if they had run super fast, they could, the pendulum swings for them, right?
So Ayuk is faster than his 40 at the combine. We agree with that.
Yes.
They benefited from him being slow. His production, don't be fooled by his production. I know that I agree with that. Do you agree with that? That he wasn't like a
Yeah,
3-year producer?
I would counter and go if you're just talking about his career because he was a really productive his one season where he was the guy. If he's just talking about the 2-year production, okay, you need to I guess argue it, but I don't think anyone's really arguing it unless, as we did talk about, I guess in the first video, right? He is a 1-year wonder.
I'm guessing John says that because that at some point in time, Lynch says it because at some point in time that came up in their discussion about him, right? Is there a chance this guy is a 1-year wonder? And the scouts go, well, we were watching him last year with Nikhil and we liked him. Just the numbers didn't match maybe what we thought. Yeah. And then the third thing, would they have considered drafting him at 13? That would have been a stretch.
Yeah.
It would have been a crazy draft if that had happened.
I think they would have got killed for that.
We would not like the pick as much.
No, to me, a huge part of it is the value you get it at 25 instead of at 13 because you also
him being the second player you got in the first round.
And luckily, their mindset is, no, they wouldn't have taken him at 13. That's just not the way they operate.
Yeah.
So they're saying that really like that's classic NFL team speak after you draft a guy. Like, shit, if we were 2 and it's like, damn, we might have just pulled the trigger on him anyway.
Yeah. If we didn't have a great understanding of value, we might have taken him at 13.
Yeah, it's like we were arguing Joe Burrow, Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, shit.
Yeah, if Burrow had been there at 9, we would have jumped all over it. Yeah. All right, let us know what you think about what John Lynch said, what you think of the video. Go watch the other Brandon Aiyuk video. And you know what? Because we like him, we'll put because he needs the Haberman and Middlecoff bump. We'll put the link to Cowherd's interview with John Lynch in the bio, in the description or comments section, whatever, as well.